Hey, everybody, welcome live to the Jim Masters Show, live entertainment, lifestyle, celebrity talk show series. Hope you're having a great day. Thanks for joining us all around the world, our international audience. We welcome you. We are positioned here in the host chair in Lovely Hall, as we call it, the Jim Masters Show Broadcast Center in the New York area, here on the East Coast of the United States. Love having you here. Thanks so much for joining us. I know everybody's excited. We've got a very special guest who is a television icon, a stage and comedy icon, a brilliant author and speaker, and a very positive, inspirational person. I am talking about none other than our very special and beloved guest, Geri Jewell is here. Yes, now, you see on the screen, of course, this brings back some memories. She starred as Cousin Geri on NBC's The Facts of Life. And what a great trip that was for her and a great ride for her. But did you know she's done so much more too? Yes, she was in the HBO movie Deadwood. Fabulous. Really, really terrific opportunity to be a part of that. She's done stand-up comedy for years. As I mentioned, she's a brilliant author. She penned this book, I'm Walking as Straight as I Can, and she has this new one out too, Geri's Jewels and Gems, which is really spectacular, with a foreword by none other than a very important person in her life and the true television icon, Norman Lear, did the foreword in Geri's book. She's very open. She's very real. She always has been all her life. She has a quick wit. She's very compassionate and she's very empathetic. She's a wonderful actress and comedian, but beyond all of that, she's just a beautiful soul inside and out. People love Geri Jewell. And I was so excited when we had the opportunity to connect and put it all together. And she's going to join us here with some amazing stories, talk about the book and other things she has done during the years of the Facts of Life, before the Facts of Life, and post Facts of Life. Norman Lear was the one who discovered her. She grew up in Buffalo, New York, and she has not stopped. She's been a real inspiration for so many people. Again, many of you recall her from The Facts of Life with the entire cast. Of course, Charlotte Rae as Mrs. Garrett, and of course, Nancy McKeon and Lisa Whelchel and Kim Fields and Mindy Cohn, and even George Clooney was on that as well. The Facts of Life, of course, a legendary television series on NBC, and our very special guest, Geri Jewell, was a wonderful part, a very inspiring part of that series. And I know all of you sitcom fans and 80s fans and just fans of television and so much more remember her in that series so lovingly. And we've got so many incredible, photos there, of course, some of the other gang in The Facts of Life as well. And she was the very first person on network television visibly to be seen on screen with a disability. And I tell you, it was absolutely welcome and it was beautiful and it was inspiring what she did on that series and what she has continued to do ever since. As a matter of fact, as I mentioned, she was also in Deadwood on HBO, which was another fabulous presentation. Everybody raved about that as well. But do you remember, too, the time with Robbie Benson? Yeah, Two of a Kind. Did you also recall that she was in The Great Space Coaster? Many of you, of course, know that I've had an affiliation with PBS for years as an on-air host. Well, she was on Sesame Street, and she's got a very cool story that hopefully she'll share, how she literally ran into Big Bird on skates. She's had such a wonderful existence that, again, continues to inspire so many people. There is sort of like a mini reunion of sorts. There's, of course, the wonderful Charlotte Rae. You may remember we had her son, Larry Strauss, on as a guest. There's Nancy and Lisa and Geri and Mindy. What's beautiful, too, is that over the years, Lisa Whelchel and of course, she was Blair. They were cousins on that series, The Facts of Life. They kept in touch and have remained wonderful friends, Geri and Lisa, over the years, which I think is such a beautiful, beautiful thing. So great stories. Thanks to everybody who's watching live from around the world. We really appreciate you being here from wherever you're watching around the world. And again, there's so much to talk about with our very special guest. I don't want to give it all away, right here and right now in this introduction. I always like to have a nice little introduction to take you back in time about our guests and remind you of some of the amazing things that they've done in their careers. She's also had an opportunity to meet fabulous folks over the years too, like the incomparable Phyllis Diller and Patty Duke and so many others. Shirley Jones, icons of the industry. We'll talk about all that and some current things she's working on. As I mentioned, she is a celebrated comedian, actress, activist, speaker, author extraordinaire, and it is truly my honor and pleasure. I know all of you are excited. I am as well, to welcome the beautiful Inside and Out Geri Jewell is joining us here from Los Angeles, California on the Jim Masters Show Live. Geri, welcome to the Jim Masters Show, my friend. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
You are very, very welcome. So we were mentioning I'm on the East Coast and it's nice, 80 degrees and it's sunny. We've got a light coastal breeze coming off the ocean here. How is it in Los Angeles?
Well, where I am, it's 100 degrees and no breeze.
100 degrees and no breeze.
There's a poem there somewhere.
There is, I think, or maybe the title of a Broadway show, perhaps. I tell you, you're so creative. You're always thinking and creating. It's a pleasure to have you here. And again, in just doing my research and of course, having followed you for many years through your wonderful time on television and stage and film and so much more, it continues to be an extraordinary experience, isn't it, Geri?
Yes, it is. My life has been very surreal in a lot of ways. I went after my dreams.
You did.
And I didn't let anybody stop me. And I think I started writing. Well, actually, I'm a writer first, believe it or not. Even before stand-up comedy, before acting, I am a writer first. And in fact, my mother was shocked that I went into stand-up comedy. She said, "Why aren't you going to be a writer?" Because I've been writing my whole life. Even in high school, I wrote for the school paper every week. So I was always a writer. And I'm very excited about my newest book, Geri's Jewels and Gems. And I got 2 more books in the works that I'm working on at the same time.
Do you really?
Yes, I do.
There it is there. That's a great, great photo of you too. And just a joyful moment that photographer captured of you with the microphone in your hand. And because you've provided so much humor and wit to so many people to take them away from their troubles as well. And congratulations on that book.
Thank you.
For those of our audience watching around the world live and those who will watch this archive later, you grew up in Buffalo, New York. And
no, I didn't grow up in Buffalo.
Were you born there?
I was born there.
You were born in Buffalo and then you shuffled out of Buffalo.
I saw the first snow and I decided, nope, I'm out of here.
Especially with that lake effect snow, forget it. So Buffalo born, and then where did the family head to after Buffalo?
LA, believe it or not, Los Angeles.
Was it for your career?
It was not, well, technically not. It was because UCLA Medical Center was the most progressive hospital for babies with birth defects. And my mom knew that there was something wrong with me because she had 2 boys before me, my brothers David and Fred, and I wasn't developing as quickly. And she knew there was something not right. So my family sacrificed everything and moved to Los Angeles to get me diagnosed at UCLA. And I was diagnosed with cerebral palsy, obviously. I can't hide it.
You're very expressive. Yes. You're very passionate. Just a
And
beautiful thing.
what's interesting about that diagnosis is that it was we came in for the appointment with the doctor, and the doctor asked my mom if it was okay if I could be diagnosed in front of 300 medical students later that day.
Wow.
Because as an example of diagnosing a baby with CP, she said
Exactly.
no problem. So if you think about it, it was my first stage appearance.
I was going to say, you've been on stage since the very beginning, right?
No,
All eyes on you.
they
Exactly.
put me on stage. He's diagnosing me in front of 300 medical students. And he introduces my mom, and they all applaud. And of course, I thought they were applauding for me.
That is funny. Wow. So what a beautiful, story that is in that way. And then, of course, when that diagnosis is made, adjustments are made. And then there is, of course, the attention that is given. And it seems like you've had early on within the family context, lots of love around you, which is so very important to have, isn't it, Geri?
I did. There's no question. I came from a family that was very supportive. I have a strong foundation. I always have a great sense of humor, which I get from my family. Yeah, I'm very blessed to have that foundation with me because it takes you a long way. It really does.
When did they realize, or you realize, that there was going to be this path? I mean, obviously, here you are now in Los Angeles as a child. Hollywood and Tinseltown are right there. When was it known or sort of developed that you would go into comedy, you would go into acting and sort of go into that world? When was that? Is that something you always wanted to do, or did the family recognize that in you and then place you in it? How'd that work in the beginning for you, Geri?
Well, truthfully, I grew up in Orange County. I didn't grow up in LA. You really want me to grow up somewhere else, don't you, Jim?
Come
I
back to the East Coast. We got the coastal breeze.
No, I grew up in Orange County, and I was in special ed for a long time until I was about 15 years old. So that meant that I was bused far away to school, and I didn't develop a lot of friendships in my own neighborhood. In fact, virtually none. And so my friends were television, and my sister Gloria was my best friend. If I didn't have my younger sister Gloria, I don't know what I'd do. But I was enthralled with television because it gave me an emotional relationship that I couldn't find outside of my family, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. Yes. The television generation. What were some of the shows that you were watching that you really enjoyed?
Well, of course, the Partridge Family.
Oh, yeah.
But that was a little bit later. A little bit later. I didn't discover David Cassidy until
Until later.
But Carol Burnett was a huge influence on me. And
Yes.
my mom couldn't understand why. She was like, God, you're so enthralled with her. The only thing I can think of is that when I was carrying you, when I was pregnant with you, I used to watch the Gary Moore show.
Which Carol Burnett was on. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So you were influenced by that early on. And when I was about 12, I wrote 2 plays for my school, and I put one on.
You did.
And I started writing Carol Burnett. And I told her that when I grew up, I wanted to be just like her because people were laughing with her, not
Yes,
at her. It was a
exactly.
loving acceptance kind of a laughter, not malicious and cruel. And that was just, wow, I want to do that someday.
Were you getting malicious and cruel laughter at you as a kid earlier? Yeah,
All the time.
yeah.
In fact, one time, I can think of so many instances, but one time my bus driver dropped me off, and these kids were waiting in the bushes for me because they knew I got dropped off at this place, and they wouldn't let me go home. This happened several times. And one time, a neighbor, John DeVoe, came and rescued me from that. And he walked me home and said, "Leave her alone." And he held my hand and walked me home. So I got a lot of ridicule from kids in my neighborhood because they didn't know me. I didn't go to their school,
And
you
didn't you
know.
once almost ask your parents at some point, maybe to have a wheelchair or something like that, because you felt if you had that, they might not pick out, make fun, or bully?
I did. That I asked my parents if I could have braces or crutches or something to educate people that it's a physical disability, not an intellectual disability. Not that it mattered one way or the other. I mean, even if I did have an intellectual disability, I still deserve to be ridiculed, and I know you're doing it. Believe it or
Right.
not.
Right.
So it was a moot point. Um, but yeah, people like a lot of people thought that I was drunk, and boy, I must have started drinking when I was really young.
I was going to say, you're right. Well, one of the things you've always said is, when people ask, gee, was that hurtful over the years that people would do that? And a lot of times it's fear of the unknown, not having all the information. But it, that it's the fact that the misconceptions and myths about cerebral palsy and other types of disabilities or illnesses, different things that people struggle with in their lives. It's that fear of that unknown and not having all the information sometimes that can be quite confusing for people. So they don't know how to act or react, right?
Yes, I think that's a part of it, and I survived all of it. I mean, I was surrounded by love all the time. I mean, it wasn't like I was abused, but I had love to come home to. I had Carol Burnett to watch every week. I had all these things that were supportive of me. So the other things, whatever. I can remember one particular time when I came home, and I was just inconsolable. And I was crying and crying, and I said, "I hate going outside. Everybody makes fun of me. I don't want to go outside ever again." I can't believe I remember this. And my mom couldn't even console me, which was unheard of because I'm usually very resilient, and I just couldn't recover for whatever it was I did. And my dad walked in the house from work, and mom said to him, "Jerry's really upset. Some kids really picked on her badly today. Can you take her somewhere and cheer her up?" So he took me to Knott's Berry Farm. He took me to Knott's Berry Farm for the afternoon and said, "Snap out of it, Jerry."
That's it. Just snap out.
And you have to.
Yeah.
Because if you don't snap out of it, it
Yeah.
grows inside you and you
Yeah.
carry
And
it
it
with
festers and right.
you. Exactly.
I think that one of the and we'll talk about, the TV shows and everything else. But I just have to say, in knowing your story and following it throughout the years as well, and working in the industry of television and broadcast media like you have, I just think that you are a breath of fresh air, a ray of sunshine. And you've been this way through thick and thin, through the ups and downs, through the positive, the negative, things that were done and said that should never have happened, but yet beautiful moments that have come your way as well. You've sailed through it with this resilience. You are a resilient person through it all, which is very inspiring for anybody else, whether they're a child, a senior, or in between, who is dealing with something that they think is so overwhelming they'll never be able to pursue their dreams, live out what they want to live out, and have a joyful life. You've been able to meander through it all, through the netting of it all, and make these things happen for you. And I think that's an absolutely beautifully inspiring part of your wonderful story, Geri. It is the love surrounding you, but also this tenacity, this can-do, this resilience that you have built in with the humor, learning to laugh at a lot of life, that I think is what really is one of many things that stands out for you, Geri.
Well, I really believe it has something to do with having a traumatic birth. I was traumatically born at 6 months instead of 9 months, and I was immediately put into an incubator. And back then, they didn't believe that preemies should be physically touched by humans. They thought that the physical touch would hurt them. So if anybody did touch me, they had to wear gloves. And I was in that incubator for 3 months. And you have to think, what kept me alive for 3 months? It was a total spiritual realm that the incubator couldn't get between us. And it was a resilience, because I can't think of any other reason why I would have lived through that. In itself, not even talking about the traumatic birth, the fact that, I got cerebral palsy because my mom was carrying me and she was sitting on the front porch. And we actually lived in Cheektowaga at that time. We didn't live in Buffalo. We lived in Cheektowaga, and a student driver came around the corner and lost control of the car and ran up my parents' front lawn, knocked over the maple tree, and my mom ran to escape the tree and fell. And that caused the trauma. They rushed her to the hospital, and she was hemorrhaging, and they thought that we both were not going to live. And thank God we both lived.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So that sort of triggered some of it, that car going up on the lawn in that way. But I tell you, the tenacity and the resilience is such an extraordinary and beautiful thing. And I've seen it throughout your career. You just have this built-in ability to also connect with people on a very human level. A lot of times when people see stars, celebrities, folks they see on television and they see on stage or in film, there's this little bit of a wall or a distance. You've always been very affable and very warm and approachable and very appreciative of fans and people who take the time. And I think that's a beautiful thing about you.
Thank you for the compliment. And I do. I'm very approachable. The only thing that's interesting is that I'm very hearing impaired. I have 75% hearing loss. And a lot of times I don't wear the hearing aids because I don't want to hear.
Especially these days.
I know, really.
Thing. Turn it off. Right.
But But it's interesting because in my early career, I couldn't wear my hearing aids performing because every time I spoke, my hearing aid would whistle. So I couldn't wear them on stage or performing. It wasn't until years later that Stucky hearing aids created a hearing aid that wouldn't whistle when I talked because it had to be compatible with the head movement from CP.
Right.
So a lot of times, I remember someone telling me, you know, a lot of your fans in the nightclub think you're a snob. And I said, why do they think I'm a snob? I'm not a snob. Geri, do you know how many people were talking to you and you kept walking?
It's just you weren't
And
able to make out what they were saying. It was noisy in
yeah,
there.
I couldn't hear them. I didn't know.
I tell you, it's really funny. You actually got the ball rolling. Was it about 1978 at the Comedy Store?
Yeah, I
Wow.
started doing stand up at the Comedy Store. And what's interesting about that is that I went to Fullerton College. And for about a year, I went to Fullerton. And Alex Valdez, who was blind, he was a friend of mine. We were sitting in the disabled services department. And at that time, I was flunking anatomy and physiology. I was flunking algebra and all the things that require logic. God knows I've never had logic. And
Who does? Who does?
I I didn't want to be in school. I wanted to be in Hollywood. And he said, well, what do you want to do? I want to be a performer. I want to be a comedian. But I was thinking of Carol Burnett comedy, a comedic actress. And he said, well, why don't you do what I do? Well, what do you do? I go to the Comedy Store every week and tell blind jokes. And I said, well, Alex, that may work for you, but I see perfectly fine. And he said, no, Dinky Face. He used to call me Dinky Face, and he never saw my face, but he called me Dinky Face. He said, Dinky Face, you go to the Comedy Store and you tell cerebral palsy jokes. So he got me into this, but he was only a part of it. There's also a little part of the story that has never been told before. You're the first.
Thank you very much.
I was in an advanced psychology class at that time with Dr. Geri Hershey. And he was kind of counseling me at the time too, after school once a week. And we became very close friends in life. But I remember one of the counseling sessions, I was so upset because I was flunking anatomy and physiology. I was flunking algebra. And he said, well, what do you really want to do, Geri? I get the feeling you really don't even want to be here in college. And I said, well, I don't. And he said, what do you want to do? I want to be like Carol Burnett. I want to be a comedic actress. He goes, then go for it. Drop out of college and go to Hollywood and become a comedian. But don't tell your parents I told you that.
You didn't hear it from me.
But this is the interesting part. He said, I have a confession to make to you. And I said, what? And he said, I was a theater arts major in college at UCLA, and my classmates were Carol Burnett and James Dean. And I was like, really?
Tell me more, right?
Carol Burnett? And he said,
the chance of that.
And I quit because I didn't have what it took to go that route. And I quit and got a degree in psychology instead. You go for it. You got one chance. You're young, go for it. If you don't make it in 5 years, you can come back and finish school. And I've never told that story before.
That's a beautiful, beautiful story. And I think it's very inspiring. And, you know, the psychology you use every day, right? You
Yes.
in comedy and dealing with people and getting through life and being on television and movies and everything. Psychology you can pull from a lot of the things you've learned, right?
Well, that's the interesting thing is that I I do, yes, you took the words right out of my mouth. I do psychology every time I perform, every time I work, and I'm just doing it in a different way.
Exactly right, which I think is amazing. And in 1980, you performed at the second annual Media Access Awards, and that's when you were introduced to somebody very pivotal, Norman Lear. But before we talk about Norman, I just want to, which I think is such a beautiful thing, as you and I were chatting before we went live on the air on the show, and we welcome everybody who's watching around the world. They're commenting in the comment section. They're saying they're loving this conversation and they love you, Geri, and they love everything you've done and they followed you. So there's a lot of people saying some beautiful things in the comment section. We thank them for that. You wrote to Carol Burnett. I met her on a number of occasions and have chatted with her, and I've said it on this show and even off this show professionally, one of the sweetest, most open, beautiful, no ego, warmest people on the planet. And I think, in addition to the comedy that you got from her, I think you got that feeling that Carol Burnett was somebody who was warm and loving. For anybody watching, Geri can tell you, and I certainly can tell you having met her, Carol Burnett is everything you would hope. She's the real deal, no airs about her, no ego, funny as heck, warm. And you wrote to her on several occasions, and she took the time to write back and tell you, go for it. I mean, to have somebody like a Carol Burnett who you admired and saw every week on your television screen writing back to you saying, you know what, might not be easy, but go for it. That's absolutely incredible, Jeff.
Yes, she wrote me back every letter I ever wrote when I was a kid. And you're right, she told me never to get into acting in every capacity. She said there is no guarantee that I would become professional. There's no guarantees in life, period. The important thing is to put out the effort and to try. How does anyone know what they can do unless they try? And that was very powerful. So all my life, I have been guided on a spiritual level. I mean, what were the odds that I would be studying psychology with Dr. Jerry Hershey? You know? And he also said, drop out of school, just don't tell your parents I told you to do.
That's right. You didn't hear it from me. But then this chance meeting with one of the greatest
Norman
television
Lear.
producers of all time, a beloved figure who you knew personally, who we just lost not that long ago, ripe age of 101, the incredible Norman Lear you're introduced to, which I think is so spectacular. And you developed a wonderful kinship between the two. He spotted something in you and he gave you that very big and beautiful blessing of going on to and cast you in The Facts of Life, right?
Yes, he did.
Wow.
I performed for him. I didn't even know he was in the audience. I didn't know who was in the audience. I was asked to perform for the second annual Media Access Awards by Fern Field. And after I performed, and by the way, Norman reminded me that Charlotte Ray was in that audience that night also. I didn't remember that for a lot of years. And they were sitting at the same table, but I never went to the table. He came up to me, so I couldn't have known that. So he came up to me after the show and he said, you know, you're really funny, kid. but you're way before your time. I said, so wait a couple months. He was so shocked and amused by my response. He waited 2 months and then put me on Back to Life. That's Blair's cousin.
As Blair's cousin, right? And that was amazing. Here you are, you grew up on television and you're admiring these various people on television, and now you're on a show that has become something cult-like. The following, people still talking about it, it's even in the news this week. There's just so many things going on with this series. What was that like for you to have that opportunity to play that role? And it was a very important role too, because of the fact, as I mentioned earlier, you're a wonderful actress to begin with. You have this fantastic wit and wisdom about you, and you were the first person actually with a disability to have a regular role on a primetime network series. So that alone was another area that television really hadn't tapped into, but they did with you. And there were so many people watching who were inspired by you while they were home seeing you on TV, like you were home watching Carol Burnett and others on TV. Did you feel any sense of a responsibility, an extra sense of responsibility while performing on The Facts of Life? Or were you just doing your thing? I'm an actress, we're going to have a good time. What was that like for you? I always wondered.
I didn't realize the hugeness of what it was, that I would still be talking about it 50 years later. It was surreal. It was magical. I, God, I can't find the words. My parents were proud of me. Oh, and that T-shirt. I wore a T-shirt on Facts of Life that said, "I don't have cerebral palsy, I'm drunk." Now, there's an interesting story about that T-shirt. When I started doing comedy in '78, and I had that T-shirt made, not the one I'm wearing on Facts. And because I didn't have hardly any money, I had very little money to live on back then. I only bought one T-shirt, and I wore that T-shirt every time I performed. It had coffee stains, BO stains, food stains, everything on it. And what I didn't know until Facts of Life, when Wardrobe came down with 2 new T-shirts, I realized, oh my God, that's how you spell palsy? I didn't realize that there was no E in palsy. Duh.
Oh, right.
I have cerebral palsy for 20 some odd years, but I don't know how to spell it.
That is funny. That is like, that is really, that's
And I have the original T-shirt. I have it right here. You want to see it? Oh, you can't. I can get it in 1 second if you want to talk to them for a second.
Sure, we're here. Yeah, absolutely.
I
Yeah.
still have it.
We love seeing the chair because we've seen so many chairs of our celebrity friends and guests over the years when they go get the Oscar or the Emmy, or the kid runs in the room and they have to escort the kid out, or the cat or the bird flies or jumps in. She's going to get that actual shirt. She wore this on The Facts of Life on NBC, the classic 80s sitcom. Wonderful conversation. I'm Jim Masters. You're watching the Jim Masters Show live Instant Lifestyle Celebrity Talk Show series. Welcome everybody from around the world. Geri Jewell is my special guest, and look at this. That chair has wheels on it.
It says a wheelchair.
That's right.
I don't have cerebral palsy, an E in palsy. And it's the only one I have. It's the only one I had then. Like I said, I could only afford one. It was 30 cents a letter. And I could have saved for 30 cents if I knew how to self-spell policy.
30 cents a letter. Now it's probably $30 a letter these days with inflation.
Oh, I know, really.
So how did being on, because you've done again so much beyond the facts of life, but that people know you, they think of that first. How did being on that series change your life? What are some of the ways that it changed your life personally, Geri?
There's a lot of responsibility to it. I don't take my success for granted. I try to give people hope and inspiration, and laughter is a big part of it. You have to have a sense of humor. You just have to, because if you can't laugh at yourself, and I can mention several people who can't, but
Yes.
if you can't laugh at yourself, you're in trouble. You've got to have a sense of humor about yourself. Oh my God, you got all these wonderful
Isn't
photos.
that beautiful? Look at that shot, huh?
Wow,
You've
that's
had
always
an opportunity to work with
yeah.
so many people, right? Like
I've
Ben
been so
Vereen.
blessed. Jim, there's no comparison. I have nothing to complain about. Oh my God.
One of the folks in the series that I mentioned, and this is, of course, a group shot with all of them there, Kim and Mindy and Nancy and Lisa, and of course, Mrs. Garrett, Charlotte Ray, was a friendship sort of that blossomed early and had maintained with Lisa Welchel, huh?
Yes.
That's so
Uh,
beautiful.
Lisa never treated me different from the first time she met me. She always treated me. Cerebral palsy was never an issue. Um, she had a wonderful sense of humor. We became roommates. We lived together for about a year, and she was a huge support for me. She was a very, very good friend while I was on the show. Absolutely. And she was the closest to my age, because even though I was 23 when I got fax, I looked about 15, 16. I always looked younger than I was, so I could have easily passed as a student. But they couldn't bring in any more students because they had just let half the cast go after the first season. So they couldn't bring another student in. They had just hired Nancy McKeon, and they're going to keep adding more students when the network said there were too many. So Norman Lear came up with the idea of casting me as Blair's cousin. And that was a brilliant move, because it gave the character Blair some depth and sensitivity, and you saw her heart, whereas before then she was almost two-dimensional, just stuck up, you know, conceited, whatever. But you didn't see her really have that kind of depth until she met up with her cousin.
Now, were you originally, did you have the same last name on the show in the beginning, Warner, as her? And did they change that along the way?
I did. I did. My name was Geri Warner, and it was that name for the first and second season. And then the third season came along, and they changed my name out of the blue to Tyler, which I resented. To this day, I can't stand it when someone says, "Oh, she used to play Geri Tyler." No, I was Geri Warner. And the only thing I can think of is the reason they would do that is because they were trying to distance me from the show. And to have the same last name as Blair wasn't distancing me enough. Because for a time, I was not wanted on the show for many different reasons, but I can't pinpoint whose decision it was, what the reason was. Nobody really told me.
They weren't
Years
sure what
later,
to do with the scripts and how to do it on a regular basis, right? I guess.
I don't know. There was supposed to be a spin-off for my own series at that time. And I was so excited, and then everything just exploded. And they offered me one episode for the whole season. And now, before I say this, I want to say this also. I was surrounded by a lot of wolves in sheepskin at that time in my life, and I was very young. I was very naive. My manager stole all my money from Facts of Life. When he went to prison, and I didn't send him there, I was low man on the totem pole. He stole millions of dollars from other people. And when he went to prison, there was $25 left in my account that was left from Facts of Life. So instead of, and there were friends that posed as friends that weren't friends, that were just using me. And I didn't know how to grapple all that because I spent so many years in special ed and isolated from normal relationships that I didn't have that skill of knowing that someone was not really your friend. Oh, you want to be my friend? Wow.
You trusted them, and you gave them a shot, right?
And I think that because I think people in the entertainment field felt that I was too much trouble. That, just, and there were rumors that I was gay, and I think that was problematic, even though I never flaunted it. I never, did anything to provoke anything.
But back then, they didn't talk about it as much, right?
Yeah, and in the 80s, you could not be gay on a public television show. In fact, I did a Cheech and Chong film before I even did Facts of Life.
Yeah.
And thank God I was cut from the film for reasons but the point I'm trying to make is if I had remained in the Cheech and Chong film, the people in Facts of Life would not have been happy. They would have like, oh no, she's in a Cheech and Chong film and she's on a G-rated show.
Right. Right. We can't have her go from bongs to books. Cheech and Chong to the Facts of Life with the school and the books, right? I just thought of that.
That's a good line. I like
Actually, that could have been a title of a memoir, huh? From bongs to books.
Okay, my third book.
Yeah, write that down, right? The third book, From Bongs to Books. I tell you, yeah. I have a little Irish quick wit too that I'm always thinking of things and always finding the funny in the craziness of life. When you look back at the time on the Facts of Life, and again this iconic series, do you look back at it with warmth and love, and do you look back at it fondly, or are you mixed?
Now I look back on it with fondness and love, but for a long time I didn't. For a long time it was painful for me because they let me go. Right, I think 84 was the last show I was on. And then in 1985, I was asked to perform at the White House.
That's right.
For being the most highly visible, successful person with a disability in the United States. And I had
Nancy Reagan, right?
Bank. That's all I had. So I felt like a hypocrite. I thought, what success am I? I'm not successful. I'm a failure. And I felt like a failure, if
Mm.
that makes any sense. I know that sounds odd today that I would feel that way, but I understand how I felt that way. I thought, why won't they? Why did they let me go? And
Did
and
they ever say or no? They just moved on.
they never said, but one time I was doing an autograph show, and one of the writers, and I won't mention the name, but one of the writers came up to me and said, I was hoping I'd run into you. And I want you to know that I had nothing to do with letting you go. And I want you to know that you were steamrolled over.
Mm.
And I said, thank you for telling me that. But he wouldn't give me who, but he just said I was. And, it is what it is. It was the
Right.
80s. I'm
Right.
not even bitter about it. I mean,
You continued your life
I
and
have a
moved forward.
Saxonite mask. Yeah, I even bought a Saxonite mask during 2020. Wonderful girls around my face.
What was it like when you did go to the White House and there you are with Nancy Reagan? I mean, that is
It
something
was
special.
terrifying.
What I would imagine it would have, yeah, I would imagine here you are now at the White House.
Yeah, I was scared. I was
Yeah.
terrified. And something that a lot of people don't know about cerebral palsy is that we have very strong grips. There's no handling anything lightly. Don't give me an egg and tell me not to break it. And when I got to the White House and I shook Nancy Reagan's hand, I could hear her knuckles crack. And
Are
when
you
I
saying you cracked her up? Not with the humor, but with that tight grip.
very tight grip.
She remembered you.
But I ended up getting a standing ovation for the presentation, and following that, I was asked to perform at the Kennedy Center, and I did that next. So I couldn't understand why Facts of Life couldn't embrace me. I was still, moving forward. It was very, very difficult for me to understand that.
Right, exactly. Because I mean, you had a nice rapport with everybody. What was it like working with, that cast and crew, Charlotte Rae and everybody? And did you ever brush elbows with George Clooney while you were there?
I never did. George Clooney came afterwards, but I used to go to the show every now and then with Lisa. We would go together, and I would sit in the studio audience and watch the show. One time I went there, we were all in Cloris Leachman's dressing room, and Brad Pitt came in the dressing room. He was there that night. He wanted to meet all the Facts of Life girls, and I was there. So I did meet Brad Pitt, but not George Clooney.
George, if you're listening,
I know.
she's been waiting since 1980. Blah, blah, blah. I was going to say, that's really something. Then, of course, the Facts of Life. You've done that. You are in the annals of television history, in the series, in the reruns, in the DVDs. You are there. You've made your mark. People fell in love with you. And then you moved on to other things, while still doing the comedy as well. The other thing you went on to, people may remember this, the Great Space Coaster.
The Great Space Coaster.
Tell us about that. What was that like? And you look very at home there, like you're having a good time.
What's interesting about that, and I'll be real honest with you.
As you always are. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that photo years later, And I actually had very little memory of doing it.
Mm.
And I think it was because it was right after again, it was after Facts of Life Let Me Go. And I was dealing with so much depression at that
From that,
time
from the facts
that
of life.
I think I mentally blocked a lot of the things that I did. And that show was gotten by my new manager after my old one went to prison. And my new manager took over. He got me The Great Space Coaster and he got me Sesame Street. Now I do remember Sesame Street.
Yes,
I
yes.
it
And there's a
happened to
Big Bird
not
story, right?
remember.
On
And
roller skates, I think you
yeah,
said
it
I
was,
can roller skate.
yeah. They asked me if they didn't want me to do stand up comedy for little kids. They said, "What
Right.
skill do you have that kids can relate to?" And I think I said Miss Pac-Man, Space Invaders. Oh, and I can roller skate.
I can roller skate.
And the minute that left my lips, I thought, wow, not only do I have cerebral palsy, I have mental health issues. But my parents actually bought me a pair of shoe skates when I was a kid. And I did learn how to skate, not very well. What I did learn how to do well was to ride a skateboard. I don't know why I didn't volunteer that because I
Right.
was a whiz on a skateboard. But Carol Spinney, who was the puppeteer
Oh, yeah.
inside Big Bird, he was
Big
so
Bird.
excited that I said that I could
Oh,
roller skate
yeah.
because that was one of the skills that he could do as Big Bird. Put Big
Right.
Bird on skates, he knew how to do it.
Right.
Wow, how powerful. Big Bird skating with Geri Jewell. They flew me to New York the night before. We did a run through, a rehearsal, and Wardrobe forgot to bring the skates. So I just walked to all my marks. It was a piece of cake. I knew my lines. Big Bird was on skates. I was just walking with him. I wasn't skating. The next day, they bought the skates in front of the live audience. And they got my cue and they opened the curtain. They said, okay, go to your mark. You remember last night, go to your mark. So I came out on stage going so fast. And I realized, oh my God, this is a very short stage.
Yeah. And these skates don't have brakes.
It doesn't, it seemed so much bigger last night. And I knew that either I was going to hit these parents or the 4-year-old, or I was going to hit Big Bird, or I was going to hit the camera. I thought the safest thing to hit was Big Bird, because it's big and soft, had feathers. I hit Big Bird so hard that his head fell off and it rolled across the stage, and these 4-year-olds were screaming that I killed him. And I became lifelong friends with Carol Spinney after that. He said, you are the only celebrity who has ever appeared on Sesame Street who decapitated me.
You knocked me out.
But I'll be honest with you again. I'll tell you the truth. Years later, he told me this. About 20 years later, I never knew this before. He said, I'll tell you a secret, Geri. I said, what? And he said, the reason my head fell off was because I unhooked it. Because if I didn't, you would have paralyzed me.
See?
He
Yeah.
saved his own life by letting go of his head.
Very smart move. Yeah. He was wonderful. I met him once. He was at a cafe in Northeast Connecticut because he lived, I believe, in Connecticut. One of the sweetest guys. And he played Big Bird, Carol Spinney, Big Bird, and I believe also Oscar the Grouch, too. He played
Yes,
Oscar. Yeah,
Yes.
he played Oscar. And just think, if it had gone in a different direction where you were to roll towards Oscar, you guys would have ended up in that garbage can upside down, and all we would see the roller skates sticking out. Poor Oscar, I tell you. But, that alone, and it's very full circle in an uncanny way. I remember Charlotte Rae was on Sesame Street. She had jet black, she had brunette hair, and she played Molly, the mail lady. She was on Sesame Street in the earlier years, and she was Molly, the mail lady, Molly. And it was a regular character and she was the mail person who brought the mail to Mr. Hooper's store and to Gordon. And yeah, Charlotte Rae was on Sesame Street as a character for a while. And here you are on Sesame Street. I mean, how?
There's no accident.
Did you know that she was on Sesame Street as Molly, the mail lady?
I knew that she was Molly. I've heard of that before, but I didn't realize it was Sesame Street.
It was
Wow.
Sesame Street, right? Yeah, she had the whole blue postal uniform and the
That's
whole.
what my mom did for a living.
Your mother worked with the postal service, yeah?
The mail carrier.
Wow, wow. So did she handle all of your fan mail through the years?
No. But I do remember when, I think it was in the 70s, she came home with a copy of Rolling Stone magazine with David Cassidy on the cover. She said, I was delivering these all day and I realized this was somebody you have a huge crush on. So I bought one for you.
Were there posters in your room and all?
Oh, God. One wall was totally plastered.
I can imagine. We had his brother, who was a fabulous guy. Ryan Cassidy was on our show not that long ago, and a really, really nice guy.
He was on Facts of Life also. Did you know that?
That's right. That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah. That's right. And there's so many people that you had an opportunity. You didn't meet David at that time, but you did meet Shirley Jones, huh?
Yes, I did.
Mrs. Partridge. Wow. Another fabulous person.
She is a sweetheart. Very, very nice, very kind. I've talked to her several times.
And of course, that's Ryan's mother and Sean's mother and Patrick's mother and David's stepmother. Yeah, Shirley Jones.
Yep. But I met David in, God, I think it was after Facts of Life. It was 1984 or 85. And a friend of mine, Keith Jennings, saw that he was going to be on Good Morning LA. So he called my friend at ABC and said, Geri has had a crush on David. Do you think she can meet him tomorrow morning? No problem. They left my name at the gate. I went up to the green room and I'm sitting there. I must change my clothes, 10 times that morning trying to figure out what to wear for David. And I'm sitting
there. I thought you were perspiring because you were going to meet David, so you had to change the clothing.
I was just indecisive there. And so I'm sitting there and David walks in the room. And I think I turned 16 all over again. I was like, oh my God. And
yes.
And what shocked me was that David came right over to me. It's the first thing he did was, you're Geri Jewell, aren't you? And I was, you know me? He goes, I love your work. You're funny. And I'm delighted that we're doing the show together this morning. And I said, oh, yeah, hey. And he said, would you like to do hair and makeup first? You can go before me. I said, no, David, go ahead. And my friend Keith said, why did you let him believe you were doing the show? You're not doing the show. I said, I couldn't tell him that I just came here to meet him. Why not? Because you think I'm a groupie. He said, Geri, if you do not tell him the truth when he comes back, I'll never talk to you again.
To
You
again.
wanted this meeting forever. So he
Yeah.
comes back in the room. He's all mic'd and ready to go on the air. And he said, okay, you can go get makeup now. And I said, David, I have a confession to make. And he said, what's that? And I said, well, I've been in love with you since 1971. And when I was in high school, I didn't have any boyfriends. I just had you. And you gave me hope. You gave me inspiration. You gave me, I've
Yeah.
always wanted to meet you. And he grabbed both of my hands in his hand and he said, Geri, first of all, I am not Jesus Christ. So calm down. Second of all, I have banged my head against the wall so many times wondering, why did I do the facts of life? Why did I do the facts of life? And then I meet people like you, and you answered why. Because I gave you hope and inspiration, and I thank you for that. And he kissed me on the cheek. And I still have this on video and on audio. No, it's on video. It's on a VHS.
And you haven't washed that cheek since. There is a little glow on that side of the face there.
But this is what happened. I think it was, who was hosting the show? Christina DeLorean was hosting it. And she was introducing David Cassidy to come out next. And I have this on tape, and I'm gonna use it someday. But the sound person, I don't know if we did it intentionally or accidentally, but he turned David's mic on when I was talking to him. And over the air came our voices. David, I've been in love with you. And you see Christina DeLorean talking, but nothing's coming out of her mouth. We just put over live television. I think he did it on purpose.
That is funny. Well, somebody else that you had an opportunity to work with. We welcome everybody joining us live. I'm Jim Masters, your host here, the Jim Masters Show Live Entertainment Lifestyle Celebrity Talk Show Series, welcoming everybody from around the world. Our celebrated guest is the extraordinary actress, stand-up comedian, activist, motivational speaker, author, and she does all that on just one day. Geri Jewell is here, a treasure and a television and film and stage legend and so much more. You got a chance to work with Robbie Benson, two of a kind. How did that happen?
Again, my new manager.
That manager, I tell you, he was really working on your behalf, huh?
I know, he really was.
What was it like working with Robbie too on this?
Oh, it was wonderful. I played his girlfriend in a TV movie called Two of a Kind,
which was a fabulous movie. Yeah,
we are lifelong friends. We're friends to this day. In fact, I'm very, very close to his mother and Benson. We see each other all the time.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So it's a small world. It really is.
Yes.
He was engaged at that time to his current wife right now. So I don't think he would have dated me. I don't even think he would have considered.
Did you have a lot of fun on set? Yeah.
So he'll appreciate it. He had this interview. Well, one day I went into my dressing room and I saw that all my clothes had my name stenciled on them, including my underwear. And I'm getting makeup, and he's sitting next to me in the next makeup chair, and I'm telling my makeup artist, I say, you know what? There's some weirdo on the set, and he labeled all my clothes, even my underwear. What do you mean he labeled all your clothes?
And the underwear.
And Robbie is cracking up
He's like,
because he did it as a joke. He
you could see it in his eyes there. He looks very sly there. Like, I just labeled all her underwear and her clothes. Wait till she finds out. Well, you have to remain friends for life after that. Once somebody
Yeah,
labels your clothing,
really.
your underwear and everything, that's as close as you can get to a lifelong friendship on many different levels. That is funny. You know, also of all the incredible things you've done, again, a lot of people know from the Facts of Life, but you've had an opportunity to, of course, Carol Burnett and so many others, meet other fabulous people that you've always enjoyed. I mean, one of my favorites, and of course, she's no longer with us, and we were just watching some of her stand up on video recently, and you just, the one joke after the next was the incomparable Phyllis Diller.
Oh, yeah.
What was it like meeting Phyllis?
It was a wonderful day. I spent the day at her home, and she
You
opened her
did, huh?
home to
Yeah.
look at all her artwork, and she was just engaging and wonderful and kind.
Yeah.
I loved meeting Phyllis Diller.
She really was. She's sadly missed that humor, that bang, 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 bang. I mean, she'll tell a joke and you can't even catch your breath before the next joke comes. And Patty Duke you met as well.
Patty Duke, or Anna Marie, as she liked to be called.
That's right.
Patty, I met when Norman Lear cast me in I Love Liberty in 1982.
Which was something quite special, huh?
It was incredible. I mean, there were huge celebrities in this show. Robin Williams, Patty Duke, Barbara Streisand, Christopher Reeve. I mean, just to name a few. And I was the only person that was not well known yet. You know, it was 1982, so I was still very young and newcomer, if you will, a newbie, they called me. I was cast as the American disabled person, and I was using crutches at the time to make myself look more like that character, so I wouldn't look drunk. Again, my own insecurity. I would have looked like I had cerebral palsy, whether I had crutches or not.
Palsy with the E.
Palsy with an E. And I went up on stage and I went into my comedy routine. Nobody laughed. This was an audience of 25,000 people. Nobody was laughing. And at that time, I dropped both crutches on the stage and I said, you know what? I think I need help. Yeah, I think that's what I need. Norman Lear came running up on stage and he grabbed me. He's holding me in his arms. He thought that I was having a nervous breakdown. He thought that he gave me too much responsibility too young. He thought, oh no, she can't handle this. She's not doing well. And he said, are you okay, Geri? And I backed him up and I said, I'm fine, Norman, but you know what? The material sucks. He put his hand on my shoulders. He said, Geri, read my lips. Your mic wasn't on. But because I couldn't wear hearing aids performing.
Right, because of the whistle, right.
Yeah, I didn't know I wasn't being heard by anyone. And everybody thought he was going to walk me off the stage and I would be cut from the show. Norman did the opposite. He put his arm around me and he looked out at the audience, 25,000 people. And he said, how many people out there want to give this girl a second chance? And they all stood up and gave me a standing ovation.
He really, really had this wonderful um, thought and love for you, and it was very protective of it and cherished that. And I think that is so beautiful for somebody like him, just as a testament to the kind of person Norman Lear
Absolutely.
was. So beautiful to do that in that way.
And we were talking about Patty Duke, and the reason I got that up was because she was the first person I ran into when I got done with my second performance and walked off stage, and she had tears running down her face. And she grabbed me and she hugged me and she said, I knew you could do it. And I told everybody backstage that she can't hear. She's not hearing. That's what it is. I mean, if she's going to play Helen Keller, she recognized hearing loss immediately, even though it was an invisible disability. She's not
Exactly.
hearing. And
Right.
we became close from that point on. And she even wrote the foreword for my last book, I'm Walking as Straight as I Can.
That is so special too. And here is that one for folks that want to find out about that. Um, that's such a fabulous photo of you too. It's just I love that photo of you. It's one of my favorites of you, the one on
Ah,
the cover of
thank
that
you.
book.
I
Tell
look
us,
so young compared to Helen.
tell us about the what inspired you to write this book.
Um, Believe it or not, it was COVID 2020. Um, like everybody else, we were in turmoil. We didn't know what was happening. Everybody was scared. And I thought, what can I do that can inspire and motivate people and get people to laugh without having to leave my house? So I called the editor of Ability Magazine, Chet Cooper, and I asked him if it was okay if I could do a coffee table book with my columns that I had originally written for Ability Magazine. And he gave me permission. We had the contract written up. And he said, as long as you give Ability Magazine credit, and of course I would. And I'm very proud of this book. Um, it's I love Geri's Jewels and Gems, and the last gift that Norman gave me in life was that he wrote the foreword for that book at 101. And I called him up on the phone and told him that I had a book and I wanted him to look at. He said, well, come on over to the house. So I went over and I said, Norman, I know you're really busy. I know you have a lot on your plate, but can you write a foreword for my book? It's a coffee table book, Norman. and, and he said, well, what if they don't have a coffee table? Are they still going to buy it? I said, well, I'm sure they will. They'll find a place for it.
They'll go out to IKEA and they'll get one quick and build it.
He said, of course I'll write the foreword for you. And 2 weeks later, he showed up with the foreword at 101.
Unbelievable. What a class act, huh? To be able to do that and to write the forward in this. This I know you're very proud of this too, right?
I am, because number one, I couldn't have done this without Dr. Randall Bell and his publishing company.
Yeah,
He was a close friend of my sister. My sister Gloria passed away 7 years ago.
I know.
And
Yeah.
that was the most traumatic thing I have ever been through in my whole life, was losing my little sister. And Randy took me under his wing and he said, if there's anything you need, I'm here for you. And he had his own publishing company, and he said, if you want to do a book, I'll publish it. And again, he did it. And
It's really beautiful. It's a must read. Geri's Jewels and Gems, a collection of Geri's columns she wrote for Ability magazine over 6 years, as well as fun photos from Geri's life that she chose herself. And is truly a balanced blend of her series of fabulous moments of sharing her sense of humor and sensitivity. And it embraces her ability to survive and thrive, which we've talked about during the show, in a world that was challenging from the time she was born with cerebral palsy back in 1956. And I think it's an absolutely beautiful read. Like you said, a coffee table book. If you don't have a coffee table, folks, or you got rid of it because you redesigned your house and you went minimalist, get a coffee table. It's big, and it's a fabulous read. Or put a couple of card tables together and just, or your TV trays, if you still have those when you're watching reruns of Dick Van Dyke and Facts of Life and the Brady Bunch, put those TV tables together and there's your coffee table, and put that right there, right? Sometimes you got to be creative. So many fabulous people. This one, we pulled this up. Tom Dreesen, another fabulous comedian. He was a guest on our show. He wants to come back on the show. A legendary comedian,
absolutely legendary.
Yeah. Had an opportunity to meet and another fabulous voice, Robert Goulet, right?
I loved working with Robert Goulet. He was such a sweetheart. He came backstage to my dressing room, and he looked at my dressing room and he said, they call this a dressing room? This looks like a closet. And I said, oh, that's okay. I'm familiar with closets.
I mean, right.
I don't mind. I like it.
Well,
and he said, well, come on over. And he grabbed my clothes and he brought me over to his dressing room to share his big dressing room with a lot of food and drinks and everything. And the one thing, I remember so many things about Robert Goulet, because he was such a down to earth. What you saw, what you got with him.
Well, and you opened for Robert Goulet, Paul Anka, Judy Collins. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah, I opened for Judy Collins. I opened for Paul Anka. But Robert Goulet is the one that stands out because he was just so personable, so kind, so sweet. His wife was a sweetheart also, Vera Goulet. We're still friends.
Vera, yeah, she's wonderful.
And I remember when they were getting ready to announce, they were giving my credits to the audience, and Robert was standing with me backstage, and I said, I'm nervous. He goes, don't be nervous. I said, but what if I bomb? If I bomb, I'll ruin your whole show too. And he smiled. He said, Geri, if you bomb, you just ruined your show. Don't drag me in.
That is funny.
He said, you already have the audience in the palm of your hands. Just remember that. Okay, well, you have them like this, but you still have them.
What a great sense of humor, right? You don't always expect that because he was always so dapper with the deep voice, but he was very, very witty. Quick.
Oh, you think? Just a little bit.
Yes. He grew up, I think, in Lynn, Massachusetts, that greater Boston areas where Robert Goulet is originally from. Really.
When my mom was battling cancer, she was a huge fan of Robert Goulet. So I asked him if he could please call my mom on Valentine's Day and wish her a happy Valentine's Day, because she's battling cancer and she might not make it. And I told my brother David, who was there with my mom, I said, Robert Goulet is going to be calling. So just be aware of it. Let her know. So my mom answered the phone, and Robert told me this conversation. Robert said that he said Olga, because I told her my mom's first name. He said, Olga, this is Robert Goulet. And she said, yeah, right. And I'm Lucille Ball.
Yeah.
No, I am Robert Goulet. Your daughter Geri asked me to call you. And she said, I told Geri a million times not to bother you. You have a lot of patience, and that's really kind of you to try to humor me. But I know my doctor's voice when I hear my doctor's voice, and I'm going to tell Geri not to bother you anymore. She's, Olga, I'm not your doctor. I'm Robert Goulet. Oh, would you stop with the Robert Goulet thing? I know that Geri is worried about me, and I know I haven't had a bowel movement in four days. And by this point, Robert had given up, and he said, "Look, I'm going to prove to you that I am Robert Goulet." And Robert Goulet sang My Funny Valentine to my mother on the phone on Valentine's Day. You know what my mom said to him?
Yeah.
After we got done singing? She said, well, thank God you're a doctor. I mean, you sound a little bit like Robert Goulet, but I'm glad you went into medicine. Robert gave up completely at that point, and he called me. And
she wanted to see his birth certificate, I guess.
Oh, she was on morphine. Come on, give her
At that
break.
point, right, exactly, right, exactly. Wow. He really was somebody quite special. You know, somebody who's a friend of our show, and she's a delight, and she's been on several times, and she was just on recently. And now they're celebrating 50 years of Little House on the Prairie is the very funny Allison Graham, right? Nellie
Yes.
Olson.
Allison's a sweetheart. We're very close friends.
Isn't she? She really, really is. She's a hoot. And look what we have here we dug up.
Oh
You've
my
got
God.
Rosemary and company here, and you and Alice
Yes.
and everybody. Look at that shot, huh?
Wow. Wow.
So many fabulous people over the years. And look at this shot. That goes back too.
That goes back a lot of years.
That's really a nice one. And we just want to show you. And then the United Cerebral Palsy Weekend with the Stars, the telethons. You were a part of that too, giving back in any way that you could, right? With all these wonderful.
Yeah, many times. In fact, that's where I got to know John Ritter and King very close friend with his brother Tom Ritter, who I'm still friends with today, and he has cerebral palsy also. So
Yeah, it's let's see, to camera left, but you're right. Is that Florence Henderson to the right of you? Her
yes,
head is
it is.
turned.
And
You-
I think she sang Memory on the
yes.
show that night. And
Yes.
I did her a compliment. I said, you know, I've never been that close to a singer when they sing. And I read your lips, so I finally know the words to
To
Memory.
memory.
It was beautiful. Thank you.
Remember when you said you met David Cassidy and you reverted back to the 16-year-old girl? Well,
Yes.
I had an opportunity to chat with and meet Florence Henderson. And it was at a very special event, and we kept bumping into each other throughout the evening, and then we had a wonderful chat and the whole thing. But there was one period where there was a group of us, and the photographers at one point said, hey, everybody get together, squeeze in, squeeze in, squeeze in. We want to take this group photo with all of us. And she was in a white pantsuit. She was a beautiful person and very, very missed, of course. And like Carol Burnett is, and like you are, the real deal, no ego, no airs, just a real person that's very talented. And so Florence, we're chatting and she's standing right here in front of me and I'm seated. It's like a bench seat. And Sonny Grasso is next to me and other people. And they're like, okay, squeeze in, get tighter. So to get in this photo, Florence Henderson, Mrs. Brady, plops down on my lap. And now Carol Brady, Florence Henderson, is sitting on my right lap. And I'm holding her up for the photo so she doesn't fall. I was like I was holding up precious china. I cannot drop this china. And it was unbelievable. I went back to 11 years old, and all of a sudden I'm now holding up Mrs. Brady. And when she got up, because she had a very witty humor, a little saucy too. And when she got up, she turned around and she smiled with that beautiful effervescent smile. And I said to her, "Oh my God, Florence, I don't think I'm ever going to wash these pants again." And she turned around and she goes, "I bet you won't, Jim." And I was, so I understand, I can relate to that, going back to, the earlier times of life. It was, I wanted to share that with you because the Cassidy story reminded me. I'd be remiss if I did not mention, because you're brilliant in this on HBO, Deadwood. Tell us about how this came about for you. You were really, really spot on with that role.
That role was historic, and I will always cherish my time with Deadwood. In 1999, I broke my neck from C1 to C7, and I honestly thought that my career was over after that accident. I mean, I was a wheelchair user for a year. I had to learn how to use this body differently. And what people don't realize is that, I still have cerebral palsy. The brain injury is still there. So the brain doesn't know that I have a titanium neck and I can't move my head all over the place. And it wants to. So my neck is always going to be in huge chronic pain. And what I do for that to this day is get 3 vials of Botox in my neck, shoulders, and back to control chronic pain. And in 2003, I'm still recovering from that neck surgery then. And I was standing in line at a pharmacy, at a yuppie puppy pharmacy up in Santa Monica. And it was 8:30 in the morning. I couldn't get dressed properly because I was in so much pain. I couldn't button buttons. I couldn't zip up pants. So I thought, okay, I'm going to wear my pajamas and just wear a coat over it, no makeup. Nobody's going to recognize me at 8:30 in the morning. No big deal. I'm standing in line and this man turns around. He goes, "Oh my God, you're Geri Jewell." And I didn't even want to admit I was who I was because I was in so much pain and I looked so bad that morning. And I said, "Well, yeah, I am." And he said, "Well, I'm a huge fan of yours. I followed your career for years. You've inspired me. You've made me laugh." And I said, "Well, thank you, sir." He said, "But I haven't seen you on TV in a long time. What are you doing with your life now?" I said, "Botox." And he laughed. He goes, "No, seriously." And I said, "Seriously, I'm doing Botox." And he said, "You want a television series?" I said, "What?" He said, "You heard me. You want a television series?"
Wow.
I said, "This is a pharmacy, and it's not nice to play with someone's mind in a pharmacy of all places."
Right.
And he said, "In case you don't recognize me, my name is David Milch." And my mouth just fell open. I said, "The executive producer of NYPD Blue?" He said, "Yes." And I said, well, Mr. Milch, I'm flattered that you're a fan of mine and you believe in me and you love my work, but let's get real. I would make a real shitty cop. He laughed and he said, no, I just signed a contract with
just
HBO.
just for our viewers that are watching, that's industry talk for not so good.
I love that. I just signed a contract with HBO. I'm doing a new Western called Deadwood. You want to do a Western? And I looked up as far as my titanium neck would let me, and I said, God, you have a quirky sense of humor. I'm standing here with cerebral palsy, chronic pain, titanium neck, dependent on Botox, and David Milch wants me to ride a horse. And he asked the pharmacist for a sheet of paper, and she handed him a prescription pad for an antidepressant. So he wrote his phone number on a prescription pad for an antidepressant, and he said, call me. And I was the first person cast on Deadwood even before Ian McShane. I was the very first cast member, cast by David himself.
Wow. Mm. What was it like playing that role for you? And I think that was working with that cast and crew was probably one of your favorite experiences, right?
It absolutely was. There was not one person in that cast that nobody got along with. I mean, everybody was down to earth, and Ian McShane was a sweetheart. Even though our scenes between Jewell and Fern, he treated the character horrible. But I mean, every time the director would yell cut, he would come over and hug me and say, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to say those things to you.
Yeah.
And I said, Ian, don't worry about it.
Yes.
I know it's just acting. He loved me and I loved him. And it just made the chemistry work. I mean, we had a great chemistry.
Yeah, that's the beautiful. And then it wrapped up, right? And that's always hard when things wrap up.
Yeah, we didn't know it was going to end. It was supposed to run for 4 years. It had a lifespan of 4 years. And HBO decided not to run it for a fourth season because they didn't want to put the money into it. It was an expensive show to run, but it was worth it. I mean, you would get it back and DVD sales and syndication and all of that. So it was heartbreaking. And it took David Milch 10 years to bring it back as a movie, a Deadwood movie.
That's right.
Which is another interesting story because I had back surgery in 2018 that I was supposed to recover from within a couple months in physical therapy. Obviously, the doctor didn't know about cerebral palsy because anytime you have surgery on top of CP, the recovery period is sometimes 3 or 4 times longer than someone without CP because you can't stay still enough to heal. And I was still recovering from back surgery, and I got an email with the new Deadwood movie that was supposed to shoot. And I called the production office, is David Milch there? And they said, well, he's not taking any calls. Can we leave a message? Yes, tell him that I'm honored that he wants to bring my character Jewell back, but I can't do the movie. I'm recovering from back surgery. I'm still a wheelchair user most of the time. I'm learning how to walk again. I can't do it.
You did the series and they wanted to do that movie, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he said,
Yeah.
so it goes, are you sure you want to tell him, you want to leave him that message? Yeah, because it's the truth. I'm not going to lie to him. It's the
Yeah.
truth.
Right.
He called me the next day, Jim, and he said, Geri, it's David. I said, hi, David. I got your message. Yeah, and who are you going to hire to play Jewel this time? He said, you. And I said, no, I can't. Yes, you can. He said, you are going to do it no matter what. I'm going to hire, you can, I'll give you a wheelchair accessible trailer. Hair and makeup will come to you, and I will hire someone to help you physically the whole time. He would not accept no for an answer. And what happened was they were putting the dress on me in the wardrobe, and it was a different dress than that. That was when from the series. It
The
was another.
series. You were
Yeah,
so good in that series too, really. Hmm.
that was an original dress from the 1800s.
Was it really? Wow.
Yep, it was an original dress from the 1800s. I couldn't have messed it up even more. So they're putting the dress on me, and they said this back brace is getting in the way. I said, well, I don't know what to do. I have to wear the back brace. Well, can you call the doctor and see if you can get out of it just for filming? So I called the doctor and he said, no. He said, if I take you out of the brace too early, then if there's any problem with your back later, the insurance company won't cover another surgery. So you have to stay in the brace. So what they did was make the dress bigger over the brace. But it
Mm.
still showed. We were filming it and you could see a brace underneath her dress. So props made me a back brace that was used in the Civil War in the
Wow.
1800s. And I wore the back brace that they made over the dress with the real back brace under the dress. So I was very braced up for that role.
Props to props, right? Yeah. Wow. See the things that everybody goes through to entertain everybody, the things behind the scenes. It's really absolutely amazing. You were again brilliant in the series, and props to you. And I can see why they wanted you to be a part of the movie, because you just nailed it. And you really, when you perform, whether it's on stage as a comedian or acting or whatever the case may be, you're so real and identifiable and relatable. And I think that's why people like to have the opportunity to work with you and connect with you and some of these other, beloved celebrities and stars we've been talking about and sharing and showcasing, who also, I mean, you had an opportunity to chat with Jonathan Winters,
Oh, I know. I know.
another
And I
fabulous
got to
one.
tell him at that point when I met him that day, I told him that I used to go to Patty's restaurant in Toluca Lake
Oh,
in the
yeah.
mornings because he would be there a lot of mornings entertaining the whole restaurant. And I used to go there just for the entertainment.
Just for the entertainment, right?
Yes, the food was secondary.
Look at this shot.
Angie Dickinson. Yes.
Angie Dickinson. Boy, people would line up to get that picture with her.
What a
Is this
sweetheart
is
he
this
was.
from this isn't Battle of the Network Stars or any of that, is it?
This was in
Looks like she's got
Lake
an ABC
Tahoe.
logo on her
It
shirt
was
there.
in Lake Tahoe, and
Ah,
it was a charity for
a
United
charity.
Cerebral Palsy.
Oh, that's fantastic. Look at
Yes.
this. Susan Olsen,
It's
Cindy
Carol
Brady.
Spinney.
There's Carol Spinney. So for everybody watching, the gentleman that's in the far right, who has the beard and the beautiful locks of silverish blondish hair, that is Carol Spinney. he is the performer who was inside and operated and created Big Bird on Sesame Street, and he also was Oscar the Grouch on Sesame Street. This is a great sort of family photo friendship here, huh?
Yes, absolutely.
That is such a great shot. And look at this shot too. Wow.
Line
MacGyver in the back there.
Yep, yep.
Why? So many incredible people that have, come through, passed through your beautiful life as well. And I'm sure we showed that as well. And
There
yeah,
was
I
one
love that. I love all of these that we've just, the Nancy Reagan and that special moment. You also, 21 Jump Street, you had an opportunity to be on that show on Fox. And was that because you wanted to work with Johnny Depp?
I wrote the treatment for that show, and it's funny you should say that because that was the reason I wrote the treatment because I thought Johnny Depp was so cute. And as it was, they bought the script. I mean, they bought the treatment and rewrote the script, but they had to rewrite it. They gave all the scenes that I wanted with Johnny Depp with Peter DeLuise, Dom DeLuise's son, because Johnny was filming Crybaby that week. So I couldn't work with Johnny, but it ended up being a blessing in disguise because Peter DeLuise was a sweetheart to work with.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I loved working with him.
Yeah, that was a great opportunity. It's cool that you wrote the treatment as well. I want to make mention too, you also were in Strong Medicine and also even The Young and the Restless, the soap opera, huh?
Yeah, I did. I did some episodes of Young and the Restless. It was soap operas are hard because you got to learn those lines really fast.
Yeah, the scripts are this thick, right?
Yeah,
Oh, oh, that's cool. There's somebody behind you that just came to life. Is that a cat?
that is Kiki. Kiki, hi, baby.
What a cutie. Just sitting there living the life, right? Kiki. Wow, that is cool. You also co-starred in the independent film Night of the White Pants and was featured on the Fox series Alcatraz as well. And while not working, on and in television, you have always been a highly sought after motivational speaker and trainer in the areas of diversity, disability, LGBTQ issues. Your training has taken you to such companies as Hewlett Packard, Master Foods, Johnson Wax, AT&T, Mass Mutual, Rayathon, and many others. And you also trained government agencies too, like the CIA, the U.S. Treasury Department, Defense Intelligence Agency, and the U.S. Army. Wow.
Yeah, I did that too. I've been so blessed. I spoke at the Obama White House twice, and I even entertained at the President's Club the night before his inauguration for people with disabilities who were for Obama, and that was incredible. And see, what else have I done?
Oh my God. It really is amazing the amount of things that you have done. And you're famous for that uncanny ability, as I mentioned in the beginning of the show, to captivate the hearts of your audiences by using humor to facilitate attitudinal change, right? To use humor to break the ice, bring people together. And your presentations, when you do the motivational speaking and more, are from your own life and personal experiences, right? With touches of humor. I think humor is a great elixir. It's the humor and music are two of the best medicines out there, wouldn't you say?
I would say absolutely 100%. And I look at my sense of humor in doing the motivational speaking that I do and the training that I've done for the government and otherwise, Fortune 500 companies, is humor is heart surgery. you have to open the heart to put the message in. Otherwise, the message isn't going to get in. So I open the heart by making them laugh, and then I put the message in the open heart. So I look at humor as heart surgery. And I say music does the same thing. Unfortunately, I can't sing, even though they made me sing Waltzing Matilda in the Deadwood movie. That was the hardest part of the film, was singing
They
Waltzing Matilda.
that I would imagine, but like I said, you're resilient, and that's the bottom line. Is you did it. Speaking of singing, Liza
Oh,
Minnelli.
Liza Minnelli, she was a dream come true to me.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
unfortunately, I wasn't mature enough to nurture that
To
relationship.
realize who
Yeah.
was the right, but still the opportunity. You were also in something very special, Carol of the Bells.
The Bells. I played a nun. That was living my childhood fantasy of becoming a nun when I grew up.
Is that something you did want to do? Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
Why, I don't know. No, it's not. No, the reason I say that is because I grew
Just
up.
going to confess now.
I know. No, I grew up Catholic. I was raised Catholic, but I cannot say that I was authentically a Catholic because I didn't get hearing aids until I was a teenager. And so every time I went to church, I never heard what they said ever.
Just the amen at the end, right?
Yeah, that's all I
Amen.
knew.
Amen.
And if someone knelt, if the church was kneeling, then I would kneel. If they stood up, I stood up. But I never understood why.
Just followed the cues. You're very easily directed. She's easily.
Yes, I learned that very young, didn't I?
You going full circle back to the facts of life. Of course, you've had opportunities to sort of resurrect or regroup over the years a little bit, huh? There you are with Mindy and with Lisa, of course, your dear friend, and Nancy and Charlotte, who we miss. That's been nice to have some of those opportunities to do that, huh?
It's been amazing. Lisa and I reconnected last week. Actually, we had dinner, and it was special. Oh, that goes way back. That photo. Wow, Lisa and I are very close, and it's nice to have her back in my life because we went our separate ways for a long time. But
Yeah, a lot of people do over the years, right?
yeah, but when you look back at 50 years, almost 50 years, you kind of celebrate that. And we did, didn't we? And it was nice to be able to talk again like we used to.
Right, exactly. And again, it's really a full circle experience. And some of these people, like I've mentioned, the Carol Burnett giving you that inspiration early on in your life, and then the incomparable Norman Lear then taking you under, his wing in a way, and sort of seeing some beautiful things in
Yeah.
you and wanting to see you propelled forward as well. I think that's just.
Remember what I told you, that if we get out of our way, our life will do what it's supposed to do. And interestingly enough, the real reunion happened when I went to Norman Lear's service and ran into Lisa. And that's why we came together again. And I firmly believe, there were at least 1,000 people at his service. And the one person that I ran into, because I was on a walker, I don't have as much physical ability as I used to. I'm struggling very, very hard physically. And so I don't have that ability to mingle, to walk long distances, to and the one person that I ran into was Lisa. And I know you're bored by this story, Kiki. I saw that yawn.
She doesn't miss a trick. She's got eyes behind her head.
But I firmly believe that Norman was behind putting us back together again from the other side, because
You know,
Norman would do something like that.
I don't doubt. I don't doubt that he did in his own special way. Have you ever had any continued conversation with Carol Burnett over the years? Does Carol Burnett know how you
Carol
feel
Burnett,
about her, and how her saying what she did early on in your life made such a profound difference in your life? Does she know?
Kiki.
If that's a Screen Actors Guild cat, that's about the amount of time we could afford to have Kiki on screen, on and off. I love
Carol
him making you laugh, Geri. You're usually the one doing it for everybody else. I'm so happy. My Irish humor is making you laugh. I love it. It's nice to see. You have a beautiful smile. You always have, so it's nice to see.
Thank you. Thank you. Carol Burnett and I are not close, but we're very aware of each other, and she's always supported me in her career. What's ironic is that I'm very good friends with Jody, her daughter. We
Oh,
became very good
yes.
friends. So
Right.
it's again a very small world, and what a lot of people don't know is when Norman was 100, I was gifted the LGBTQ Leadership Award from Hollywood at the Hollywood Museum, and none but Norman Lear came to give it to me personally. At 100 years old, he handed me the
Wow.
award. It meant
Wow.
that much to him.
That's absolutely incredible. And yeah, and the Hollywood Museum is such a fabulous place.
Oh, isn't it?
At the Max Factor building there,
It's you've got to see it if you haven't seen it. It's incredible.
I want to let folks know too, in addition to your ongoing speaking circuits, you've never forgotten your roots in comedy. You've appeared in many of the cable comedy shows, Evening at the Improv on A&E, Stand Up Spotlight on VH1. As I mentioned, you've opened for Paul Anka, Robert Goulet, Judy Collins, featured on Entertainment Tonight, E! Hollywood True Story, ABC's 2020, A&E's Biography as well. And speaking of the awards, been a recipient of multiple awards over the years. A few of them include the 1992 Founders Award, the 2005 Independent Living Legacy Award, 2006 Victory Award, and your wonderful autobiography, I'm Walking as Straight as I Can, received the 2012 Gold Award by independent publishers. Recognized for, love and caring and empathy, and job well done, my friend.
Thank you. That brought tears to my eyes. I don't stop and think about everything I've done in one sitting. Wow.
I'm Ralph Edwards, and this is your life.
Oh, God.
You are, what are some things that we don't want to take too much of our time, but I would love having this conversation with you. And I know our viewers are, and before we wrap, I'll show a few of the comments coming in from everybody. What are some other exciting things you're looking forward to that are coming up for you, Geri?
Well, as I told you, I'm writing two other books right now, and one book is called "Buck Up to Cancer," and it's about a monkey named Buck, and it's a children's book. It's about a monkey that overcomes cancer. And the reason I'm doing this book is because my sister, Gloria, wanted to publish this book. And before she died, she was so upset because she couldn't finish her book about Buck the monkey. And I promised her that I would finish it for her. And I have all kinds of beautiful photos of Buck the monkey. Um, he came to the Deadwood set, so he's posed with Ian McShane and Paula Malcolmson, all those guys. And he's been on several red carpets. He's been to Deadwood, South Dakota. He got a sheriff's badge from Deadwood and a little holster with a gun. He's got all kinds of outfits now. So I'm looking forward to doing the Buck book. Buck Up to Cancer in honor of my sister.
The buck stops here. That is so beautiful. That is so I knew you'd laugh. That is so beautiful to continue and to make sure that that is published. That's such a beautiful, beautiful thing. What was your sister like?
Gloria, she was incredible. I have a picture of her right here. Let me show you a photo of dear Gloria.
Absolutely, your loving sister.
This is Gloria. Oh, hold on. Do you see it?
Yeah, a little bit to the right. Yeah, to the left.
There's Gloria.
Stunning woman, huh?
She was beautiful inside and out. I was so blessed to have her as my sister. And I didn't expect her to pass that young.
No.
She only lived to be 57. Kiki! And by the way, I didn't cut Kiki's tail off in case you've noticed. She is a Japanese bobtail. That is the breed. So don't think I did anything.
She didn't. She didn't do. I want to throw this in too. I know that this is coming up. I believe in August. You're going to be there for a book discussion and signing there in Los Angeles, which is going to be fantastic. It's at Barnes and Noble at the Grove again at the time of this show. So if somebody's watching this, we archive all of our episodes of the Jim Masters Show Live series on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. And anybody who came in late or would like to see this again in full, it'll be archived on the YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. So this might, if you watch this episode a year from now, this might be old news. But for those watching live, she's going to be there, and that's going to be fantastic. Again, celebrating Geri's Jewels and Gems, her latest book, which has a lot of great photos and great stories in it as well. My friend Geri, when you look at your life and all these incredible experiences, opportunities, the ups, the downs, all of it. I mean, the industry alone, cerebral palsy or otherwise, the industry alone can eat you up and can dissolve any of us. What are some of those joys and blessings in your life that have kept you going, kept you connected, kept you making us laugh and inspiring us and telling these stories and taking on these roles? And comes in there's one blessing right there. There's the first blessing. What a cute, wow. Look at that, huh?
She is so loving. Kiki, I'm doing an interview now.
She's on the Jim Masters Show live. What are some of those beautiful blessings, Geri, that keep you going when you look at your fabulous life?
You know, the main thing is to not give up, to recognize, in other words, all the painful things that we go through. We can't let that pilot light go out within us. There always has to be a little pilot light. And sometimes it'll be brighter, sometimes it won't be so bright. and then you can move it up brighter again. You have to keep going. You can't quit, and don't give yourself away to other people. In other words, if somebody else doesn't believe in you, so what? Believe in yourself. That's what really matters. That's what's going to carry you. You know, Carol Burnett said something to me that I never forgot. I went to see her in a show, and I was able to say to her, you know, Carol, you're it was total inspiration to me. You wrote me back so many times when I was a kid. I mean, if it weren't for you, I don't know that I would have had this success. And she said, Geri, you would have succeeded whether I wrote those letters to you or not. Give credit where credit is due. You have what it takes within yourself. Don't forget that, and don't let people take that away from you. Coming from Carol Burnett.
You know, coming from you as well, my friend, I think you are, as much as you are the actress, the stand-up comedian, the activist, the speaker, the author, you do have some of those nun-like qualities, and the psychologist from the psychology schooling. I think some of those things are blending together in your story and in your words and your commentary, dressed in humor as well, which I think is so exquisite. And all the amazing people that, again, you've met, you've worked with, you've shared the time with, and the influences that you have had on all of us and all of your iconic roles on television and film and stage and everything. It's just something that continues to, you know, bless all of us, my friend. And I just want to show you with Kiki there some wonderful comments that are coming in from our viewers. Maureen, these are some of our, remember I said the show has a lot of light, love, and levity or levity. Or here's some of our levity viewers that wanted to just say a couple of words. I know they're so excited. Maureen in Arizona says, Geri, I am so inspired by you. You have powered through and ignored all the negativity to reach such great heights. I love your nothing is going to stop me attitude. You go, girl. And Maria says, absolutely adorable and fearless. Kathleen says, thank God you are here with us. You are such an inspiration. She's watching in New York City, and also adds, you were amazing on the Facts of Life. We thank you. Maria says, hello, Mr. Masters and Ms. Jewell. Welcome to you. Maureen in Arizona says, hello, Geri. Welcome to Levity Hall. We're so happy to have you as Jim's very special guest today. Pierre Kelly welcomes you to the party as well. Some wonderful comments. Maureen adds, I remember when Geri joined the Facts of Life, she was amazing, and I had such respect for her. What an incredible young lady. Really, really beautiful. Very, very nice to hear and see some of these things coming in. Cullen Fields says, always admired you on Facts of Life. You're not just a champion for those with cerebral palsy, but overall for the disabled community. And he wanted to add in, and he's in New York, you also have been an inspiration to my life. Even though I don't have a physical handicap, I have a mental and emotional one. And you've inspired him throughout his life as well, which is so, it's really beautiful to see these wonderful words coming in here from just some of the people that are sharing, and a real inspiration. Geri, I don't want to take up too much time, even though we had a really nice chat. I should have put a pot of coffee on, and I should have come over there with a tuna melt and coffee. And
Really, you should have.
Well, I tell you, and the cat food. Hopefully, you know, when I'm out on the West Coast on a TV shoot or something, maybe we can get together and say hi and have a cup of coffee. That would be so beautiful. You really are a tremendous talent, but also a true inspiration to so many, and don't ever let anybody tell you otherwise. You really are just a breath of fresh
Oh,
air.
look at that child.
That's a beautiful shot. All of them are. I mean, your smile is infectious. And I encourage folks again, whether or not you have a coffee table, if you don't, go out and get one. You can get a cheap one at IKEA, because you'll want to get this and you'll want to get the latest Geri's Jewels and Gems. It's so apropos that Jewel is your last name with the slightly different spelling, because you are a jewel to all of us and a real gem as well. I sincerely hope you enjoyed the time with me as much as I absolutely have with you, Geri.
Oh, it went both ways, Jim, and I look forward to meeting you in person. So does Kiki, don't you, Kiki? Come on.
As you can see, we don't have interviews. We have free-flowing, warm conversations here at the Jim Masters Show. And this was a spectacular conversation with you, Geri. You're now part of the Jim Masters Show Lovity family. Cullen Fields in New York wanted to add, I remember a quote you once said on Facts of Life: questions don't hurt, ignorance does.
Brilliant
Yes.
line. I didn't write it. Joel Kimmel wrote it.
That's
And
right.
it
I remember.
was
And
time. Yep.
thanks for bringing that up, Cullen Fields, and good memory there of her saying that and sharing that. And Maria says, Ms. Jewell, you are a jewel. Thank you, Mr. Masters, for this fantastic interview. I so very much enjoyed. Bless you both. Bless you, Maria, and all the new viewers and everybody watching. Again, I send you blessings and love here from the East Coast. My friend Geri, thanks so much for being with us. I hope the show met whatever expectations you had, and you come see us again. It was a treat having you with us.
Oh, I would love to. Thank you. Thank you, Jim.
You are very welcome. Sending you love from the East Coast, my friend.
And send me that breeze.
Yes. The cat food. And anybody that missed the episode in its entirety, it'll be on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. You can share it and share it on social media and enjoy. Geri, thanks for all the time. You were very, very generous, and I really hope you had a good time with us. We sure did with you.
Thank you, Jim. Have a great evening.
You be well. You take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The incomparable Geri Jewell here on the Jim Masters Show. Was she not our tremendous delight? What an epic story. I bet you that our conversation exceeded what you expected, right? She was very open, very real. Of course, a lot of you remember her from her time on The Facts of Life, yes, but she also starred in the series Deadwood. They loved her so much they wanted her in the movie. She really is a tremendous spirit. And, I have no trouble when I'm talking to folks, in my years on television and radio and stage and film, in waving the flag and sharing the sunshine when I come across people who really get it. She's somebody who has taken various things in her life, and instead of just keeping them as lemons, she's made lemonade out of it and shared it with all of us. And that is incredibly inspiring, right? And all the people that she's met, it's really cool. She was in awe of many of these people watching television, born in Buffalo, then shuffled off the Buffalo area, and then they went to LA. Good thing she went to LA, right? Because these opportunities came her way. But the wonderful story about Carol Burnett, writing to Carol multiple times, Carol writing back every time and giving her that inspiration so she can then decide what she wanted to do with writing first and stand-up comedy. And then, of course, The Facts of Life, the iconic series, which you can still see in reruns and on DVD and everything else. And Norman Lear being the one who said, hey, kid, let's do something together, which again, she, if you noticed, she talked with great respect and honor about these many people that have come into her life, her great friendship with Lisa Whelchel as well. And of course, the iconic cast of The Facts of Life and so many other things that she's done throughout her life as well. And this was as I mentioned, she's a wonderful speaker, motivational speaker too, and she is available for speaking engagements. She loves to do it. She loves to do presentations for large companies and small, or for individuals. It's something that is in her blood, and it's something that brings her great joy. This was at one of the, looks like one of the reunions of the Facts of Life. You pretty much have everybody there. This goes back, when Charlotte was with us. You know, speaking of Charlotte Rae, who played Mrs. Garrett, and who was also, again, Molly the Mail Lady on Sesame Street. What a great story that was about Sesame Street and Big Bird with Geri, crashing into Big Bird. You know, I guess, there I am. You know, if the option is to either crash into a very expensive couple $100,000 camera, or steaming and rolling into a parent with their 4-year-old child, or bouncing off a big fluffy bird, she made the right choice. Big Bird. But what great stories about Carol Spinney and Robbie Benson, and the great Space Coaster, and 21 Jump Street, and everything else that she's been a part of. Really, truly amazing. And of course, as I mentioned, Deadwood as well. We hope you enjoyed it. Let me just show you the books again, make sure. And she's writing more. Yes, she has more that she's writing. You can get this at Barnes & Noble and Amazon, all the places. And her newest, Geri Jewels and Gems, hot off the presses. She's doing book signings and different things like that. What a delight. Yes, known for the Facts of Life, but so much more. Geri Jewell. Cousin Geri was in the house, like a family member, right? Really a beautiful, beautiful conversation we had here exclusively on the Jim Masters Show, and I really appreciate all her time. We thank Geri Jewell for being with us, and I want to let you know, too, for those of you who fans of Charlotte Rae, the brilliant actress, there was an episode of the Jim Masters Show where her fabulous son was with us, Larry Strauss. You can see this episode of the Jim Masters Show live series with Charlotte Rae's son and brilliant author Larry Strauss on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. We had a fantastic conversation with Larry. And here's a little bit of some of the, there we are there. And there's a little bit of a commercial in the way there. But yeah, that was something really special. And you can see that on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. Larry talked about his famous mom, Charlotte Rae, who was Mrs. Garrett on that fabulous series. And also Different Strokes as well. She was on Different Strokes, and she was a brilliant actress herself too. So good stuff. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Jim Masters Show live series. Thanks for all the great comments. Take a look at a couple more here. Maureen says, "You are one of the most beautiful humans on the planet." She's talking about Geri. God bless you and all that you have done to create awareness for anyone with disabilities. Yeah, that's beautifully said. And Kathleen in New York says, "What a special lady. Great show. Thank you, Jim." And Maureen adds, "This was wonderful, Jim. Geri is such an incredible lady. I'm so glad she spent time in Lovely Hall today. Thank you so much. And we'll have her back." Thank you, Jim. Have a great weekend from Kathleen, and all these great comments coming in here. Thank you so very much. And Kathleen even went as far as starring a super chat, which we always like to acknowledge when our viewers do that. Geri, I am so enjoying listening to you. You have a wonderful attitude, and you are an inspiration. Thank you for being here. Kathleen watching, one of our super fans, and she watches in New York City. Thank you, Kathleen, for your generosity as well. Quick note before we head out, it is dinner time here on the East Coast. It's like 6:30. Wow, I can't believe. It doesn't feel like it, right? It feels like we just started chatting with Geri. She's a wonderful conversationalist as well, as you can see, and a hoot and a holler. If you could give this episode a like on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV, there's a thumbs up like icon. Click like if you loved this episode. Share this episode on your social media, direct from our YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. and leave a comment in the comments section. Interact with us. What are some of the great things that Geri Jewell has done that you've enjoyed? Maybe a favorite episode of The Facts of Life or Deadwood or anything else. Maybe you've seen her perform on stage, stand-up comedy. You've read the books. Whatever it is, leave a comment in the comments section as well. And check out over 1,200, well, we're inching on, at the time of this show today, almost 1,200 episodes of our series with fabulous guests from television and film, music, stage, sports, comedy, inspiration, everything like a talk show would have. Thanks to everybody who has liked and commented, subscribed. We really appreciate that. And if this was your first time watching the Jim Masters Show live, Entertainment Lifestyle Celebrity Talk Show series, we thank you and we welcome you to the family. Cool stuff. All right, gang. So check it out. And I just want to throw in as well, we showed this during the show. There is her website, gerijewell.com. Check out what she's doing and some of the great things she has done on her website. For all of us here, this is Jim Masters thanking you for your time. This time till next time, come see us again. Keep the porch light on for you as well. Don't forget to love one another, take care of one another, and we love having you here. I'm your host, Jim Masters. Be well and cheers.